Hi, I'm Alicia, and welcome to my Operational Innovations channel, where I focus on process tips, techniques, and strategies to help you level up in the areas of project management, product ownership, and small business operations. So today's topic, the small business health check. Now, we're still in my top 10 tips series in the small business health check, and today we're focused on number 9, give something away. Now, I'll put a link to the launch video below that talks about all the top 10 tips so that you can see them all and check them out. But this is that first video where we're really talking about, well, at least the one where I'm giving my perspective on this concept of give something away. And as I've mentioned, I've been an entrepreneur several times before, and what I'm sharing today is just some tips that have helped me to have an amazing year last year and continue to thrive even in this time of global crisis. So let's jump right in. When we think about this topic of, giving something away, this is actually really important to me. And so I'm really glad we're spending some time on it here in this series. I have to tell you, this whole idea of giving something away, and this is something that I realized this time around, that the idea of giving something away is really about your mindset. I didn't realize this the first couple times around, that giving something away is really about having an abundant mindset. And I think in the first couple times around, I think in theory I understood this concept. Like I read some books, like one of them was, what was this book that I read? It was about, the Law of Attraction and other books that are in this genre. I read these books, and I think from a theoretical perspective, I might have understood it, but it wasn't until I made it a very specific practice to start giving things away that I really understood the power of it. And that said, I could say all this all day long, but if you're like living from invoice to invoice and you're at the bottom of the Maslow hierarchy, bottom of the Maslow pyramid, and you're trying to put food on your table, the last thing you're thinking about is giving something away. You're like, I need food to feed my family, or I need to put a roof over my head. So that there's tension there, right? There's this tension between wanting to give something away and not being in a position to do that. But I will say this, that one of the things that I've learned in all of my experience of being an entrepreneur, that a lot of it has to do with what's between your ears. And so your mindset is absolutely everything. And honestly, I did a video, the number 7 video, Get a Coach, is about getting a coach. And I have to tell you, that's one of the things that's helped me to get to where I am on this day after 3 or 4 months of being in lockdown over the pandemic, and still have this attitude of gratitude and still be giving things away and still have a thriving business, is because, once you get your mindset together, the rest of it is the tactics. It's basically a typing exercise after that. So getting a coach is really important, and that's what helps you to have this, to continue to keep this perspective of an abundant mindset. So, when I think about what are the types of things that I give away in my small business, and it's a number of things. I feel grateful and honored to be able to give away as much as I do. And I'll just go through a list of things. It started off with, so I've always had a practice of giving things away, but this particular year when COVID-19 hit, I started giving away free coaching. I gave away free coaching sessions. I gave away team alliances, or team reboots is what I called them, and I'll talk about those a little bit later. I gave away those types of things to my clients because I knew people were struggling. At the end of March, everybody was still freaked out. They were still trying to figure out what to do with employees and being displaced and being at home and kids at home and other spouses and other family members at home. It was all a lot. And so I felt like I had some superpowers that I could share, and I was very grateful to do that. So a couple of ways that I give, in addition to the coaching and the team alliances, is I'm in a LinkedIn pod, and a LinkedIn pod is an engagement group. And the engagement group is a bunch of people that come together that agree to contribute to each other's content out on LinkedIn. And I have to say, honestly, I feel like I give more than I post in that group, because I just don't post as much as the other people do. But one of the things that's been great about it is I've learned and I've grown from from engaging with their content. So it's a gift to them, but it's also a gift to me because I learn and I grow in the process. One of the other things that I do to give away is public speaking. Now, I'll talk a bit more about that, but there's, locally where I live in San Diego, there's the Project Management Institute local chapter. They don't often pay people to speak, and they need speakers all the time because all the project managers need to have their professional development units. And so I speak for them often. And what's been great about that is I get the audience, I get the exposure, I get to try out test out new ideas. So I've loved it, and I've used that for years as a platform for me to really think about and bring to the world these new ideas and these new thoughts that I have. Public service. I am the co-founder of the Agile Coaching Exchange for North America. My co-founder is John Eisenschmidt, and he and I work tirelessly to keep the Agile Coaching Exchange going. We have monthly meetups. When it was in person, we did them in person. When it's with COVID, we do them remotely. And just this year, we had, actually just this month, we had one of our most well-attended activities. It's called the Business of Agile Coaching. It had international attendance. It had probably one of our biggest rosters of people attend. And this is just one of those things that we do. And all of this is for Agile coaches in the United States, building their competency around a coaching competency model. And all of it is public service. So neither he or I get paid for this. I'll put a link below to the Agile Coaching Exchange so you can read all about that. That's one of those things that I do, that I give something away. This video series, my small business health check, the stuff that I'm going to talk about for product ownership, the stuff that I'm going to talk about for project management, this whole series, I'm not getting paid for this series. This is a series that I'm bringing to the world because you know what? I've done this a time or two, and there's no sense in you tripping over the things that I tripped over as I came along as an entrepreneur. So I thought I would share. And I love doing this series, and I've met some amazing people. I had a group reach out to me out of Australia. I only had 4 videos up, and I had a group reach out to be a Facebook ambassador for a group that they have that they're building on Facebook. So listen, you give something away and you get something back. That's the way the universe works. And it's nice that way. Personal assessment. So I'm an executive and leadership coach, and I work mostly with software development and IT folks. And I work with women leaders, women who are leading in organizations like software development and IT, as well as other organizations. A lot of my background is in medical device and medical industry, but it's personal assessments that I use to work with these executives and leaders to help them take their professional offering to the next level, to help them to get to know themselves better, to help them have a strong outcome with their coaching. So I'm a Wiley authorized partner, and I use assessments like emotional intelligence, productive conflict, 360s. I do a 363 through the Wiley product suite, and the Agile EQ, which is the emotional intelligence, as well as the productive conflict, and many of the others in that suite. These are all instruments that I can give away for free. Now, I am a Wiley authorized partner, and I do invite people to the monthly showcases, and when you attend the monthly showcase, you can take one of those assessments for free. If you attend one of the events where I do public speaking, and if I'm giving away one of those assessments, you can take one of those free too. So I feel very grateful to be able to give away as many things as I can. This is at a very different station in my business, because I can tell you back in 2015 when I first started, first of all, I'll say that I didn't have a plan for giving things away, not as structured as I have now. This has really been an evolution for me in my business, but it's something to think about. One thing I'll point out for you that there's going to be a couple of other videos on this topic, and the one that you'll want to pay very close attention to is my interview with Wendy Yaniv. She gives some great advice about giving something away and how that can benefit your business. And her final tip is very memorable, and you'll want to write that one down. So I'll put a link to that one below. I'll connect these 2 videos together because you'll really want to pay attention to those tips that she gives. So if I were to, and speaking of tips, if we're talking about tips for giving something away, I'll wrap up here with a couple of tips on giving things away. So one of the things that I've realized over these last couple of times of being an entrepreneur is that you really need to be strategic about how you give things away. I'll give you an example. So if I've come up with a new offer, like say I come up with a new practice, like the Designing a Team Alliance or the Agile Team Reboot, when I came up with those things, I field tested them, and I need somebody to field test them on. So I usually pick a couple of we call it nonprofit organizations. I reach out to them and I say, hey, would you like to do this activity? They get a benefit of me doing the activity. I get the benefit of getting the feedback from them, doing the field testing, working out the kinks, asking them about how much they might pay for it. So you get feedback. It's so powerful. When you think about giving something away, think about how you can learn and think about how you can grow. I mentioned public speaking. I've gotten clients from public speaking. There's a lot of different things that I have used in this way of giving things away that has really helped me. And I'm going to share a couple of things here with you that really have had an amazing impact. So this Everything Disc Team Reboot, I'll tell you a quick story about this one. So I did a field test with the Agile Coaching Exchange. I thought, you know what, I have this new activity. I really love it. Let me see how it lands with people and how it feels for me to kind of go through the mechanics of it. And I reached out to, well, I'm running ACE, so I just said, hey, we're going to do this in June. A bunch of people came. It was really a great event. We probably had one of our biggest attendance numbers at that particular event as well. And so I did this activity, got feedback about it, and one of the attendees was a colleague of mine, and he's working in a new hospital system here in the area where I live, and he got a chance to experience it. And so he and I had been having conversations back and forth about doing some business together, but we just hadn't crossed over that edge to really start putting documents in place and starting our work together. So he experienced this activity. And then a couple weeks later, I offered it to him for free. I said, hey, you've got this organization. You told me some things that you have going on with this team. What do you think about this? I'd be happy to do it for you, complimentary. Well, I'll tell you that complimentary 90-minute Agile, or I call it an Agile Team Reboot. It's an Everything Disc Reboot, Agile Team Reboot. I call them by both names. That turned into about $60,000 in business. So it was really a powerful example for me about how important it is to be generous with these things and give some things away. Now, in this picture here that you can see, do I have a picture of this group? Oh yeah, down in the bottom left-hand corner. So down in the bottom left-hand corner, that particular picture is of a group that's a nonprofit group that lives, they actually have their offices right where I used to live. And so the name of the organization is Avid. And I offered this to them. So this is kind of this idea of field testing. And I told the person I was working with, I'm like, hey, I got this thing I want to field test. Do you guys think you'd be open to it? It's really fun. It's about 90 minutes. Here's what you'll get out of it. It was fantastic. And I got a chance to do that field testing. So the Everything Disc Team Reboot was one of those things that I gave away. And in some instances, it turned into business. In other instances, it turned into referrals. So it's really been amazing. Now, this next thing, I mentioned public speaking before and how that's really a community service. This group here is called the Agile Open Southern California. And you can see there's a lot of people here. Now, not all these people came to my talk, but this was one of these formats where I thought, I have this theory about something and I want to test this idea out. So again, it's like field testing. So I pitched a talk that I thought would have 10 or 15 people at it. Turns out it had about 50, maybe almost 60 people jammed into this classroom, ready to hear about this topic, which told me a lot. It tells me that this topic is important. It told me that a lot of people are struggling with this. So it gave me a lot of great data. And since then, I think I did this in 2018. Since then, I have done this talk a number of times. And every time I do this talk, I pick up another client. So, and I'm not getting paid for the talks. So I'm getting the exposure and I'm getting the audience. And so it's up to me to decide what I do with that exposure and that audience. So I say all that to say, don't take it for granted. Giving something away is phenomenal. So I love this because this quote here, because it really reminds us of the power of giving something away. Lighting someone else's candle doesn't make yours any less bright. And so it's really that concept of giving something away. And if I sum it up, Having an abundance mindset is really the key to this idea of giving something away. And pay attention to that last tip that Wendy gives in that interview, and you'll really lock into this abundant mindset. And then being mindful of what's possible to give away. And this kind of goes back to the idea of when you're a brand new business, what do your giveaways look like then than what they do when you're a more established business? So you want to be thinking about that. And then finally, be strategic about it. Make sure there's an opportunity for you to learn, for you to grow. And whether it's growing your business or grow yourself, you know, just think about how you want to use your things that you give away. Because I know for me, a lot of what I give away is time. And so time is money. And so you really want to be thinking about what's going to make the most sense for you as you're giving things away. So that's it, folks. You know, this concept of giving something away really isn't that complicated. It's just something you need to think about and something you need to actually put in your plans. And what resonated for you here about this topic? Is there something you thought about for your business? Do you already give things away in your business? And if so, what do you do? Share your input, share your insights. Go ahead and put those down in the comments. We'd love to see, you know, what it is that you do with this concept of giving something away. Because you know what, as a small business community, we all get stronger, better together when we share the concepts that we do and what we do that works for us. So thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for the next drill down video in my top 10 tips list. It's actually our last tip in the series, number 10, an attitude of gratitude. And frankly, this topic is very much tied to that topic, and I will likely mention that. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, I invite you to like and subscribe and click the notify button. Any engagement that you can give helps me grow my channel, and I appreciate anything that you're willing to do. A like, a subscribe, a comment, and don't forget to hit that notify button. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time.